This is a demonstration of the scheduling solution implemented by InfoStrat using Microsoft Dynamics CRM. The solution provides a standardized method to record and track requests for an official to attend, speak at, or participate in an event. It provides a consistent, automated method for vetting the event, identifying conflicts, making determinations, gathering input, and then notifying the requester of the decision. We use Dynamics CRM as it's an ideal platform providing many useful out-of-the-box features. Included in those would be integration with Active Directory for identity management, integration with Outlook and Exchange for integration of emails, tasks, and calendars with Outlook, a workflow engine that provides for process automation to make sure that the solution moves consistently through the process. Dashboards like what you see here for quick views of the requests in various stages of processing and general health and activity in the system. It provides a search feature which includes quick and rapid search, as well as an advanced find feature that allows you to search requests or other data elements by specific data field values. So for instance, if I want to find a list of pending requests that were requested within the last couple of weeks, last X weeks, say last 8 weeks, then I can find that information very quickly. It provides case management capabilities to allow tracking of all communications with a particular, regarding a particular event or with a particular organization or person. So I can see here that I've got a phone call. This is an open phone call, which means it's one that needs to be made to confirm the details. An email, which is in this case confirmation that we've received the request, as well as an appointment, which puts the event on the calendar so that we can view it for determination if there are any conflicts. In addition to that, there's also map integration, which allows us to see, for instance, where an event takes place. Viewing it on a map, and I can scroll in or out to see where it is in reference to other places. And Dynamics CRM also provides a quick create feature. So if I get a phone call with a request, I can basically start from anywhere within the system. I don't have to navigate to another location to add that request. So we're going to add a request here. We're going to add a ceremony to recognize veteran-owned businesses. We'll put in basic information about the event, such as when does it start, when does it end, where will it be located. So here we'll put in a location name of the actual building in which it will be occur, or if it were a field or park or something like that, and the city and state. The media market kind of identifies a region. You can use this field any way you want. This is a field where the data would be customizable for your specific application. What kind of an event? Is it an internal, an external, legislative session, so forth. The requesting organization, so who's making the request. In this feature, we can look up to determine, do we already have that organization, or do we need to add it? So if we needed to add that organization, we can do a search. Oops. And see if the organization is already there. If we couldn't find the organization, we can add a new one. So I'll add that organization. I can look up the key contact to see if we have, since we already have the organization, we may already have that key point of contact. Other information, so what's the purpose of the event? And when did we receive it? With the calendar widget, I can automatically specify today. If this came in by letter, we got it on Saturday, I can then backdate that request received. What's the role of the individual that's being requested? Is it a speaking role, meet and greet, simple attendance? And how would they like to receive a response? Do we need to make a phone call to them or send an email? Also, is there a letter required? And again, these are the data elements that we implemented for this basic system. We could add additional data elements or modify any of those to meet a specific customer need. If I go back to the dashboard, then you'll see I have in this section for requests for the initial review, here's the request that I just entered. CRM provides what's called a business process flow that allows me to set up the process in stages and make sure that I'm collecting the proper data for the exchange. With the quick create form, we were able to make sure that we did get all the requisite data we needed for an intake. But we may also have additional information that's available. So if I'm on the phone with the person, I can put in other data elements, such as how many people will be in attendance. What type of attendance are they? Is there an agenda? And again, this may be something that I have, if I'm on the phone, maybe they email me the agenda and I can copy and paste it. The executive would be speaking. How much time would they have to speak? Is there a meal served? Will there be media present? All kinds of information that may be of relevance to your particular organization. And again, we can add any of these data elements either to the intake form itself or just in general to the form. Once I've got everything entered, I can move it on to the next stage. So I click the next stage button. So I've now finished the intake. Notice it's checked, and I have a flag on my assess phase. So in the assess phase, that's where we'll take a look and see, are there any conflicts? Do we need to expedite this particular request because it's going to happen in the next 3 days? Or is the organization, for instance, barred? So we can look to see, is the organization barred? And that way we can provide warnings and so forth if they are. The other thing we can do is go to the CRM calendar. And this calendar, we can look at it a month at a time, a week at a time, or individual days. And we can see engagements or any requests that conflict. So in this case, we have a request from 1 to 5 and another request from 2 to 4. Notice they're given these little exclamation point icons, letting us know that there is a conflict. So I can see there is a conflict. So I can make a determination for this particular executive, which is the more pressing, if either. Which one should that person attend? Again, I may not be able to make that determination at this point. So I'll just go back to my home page, which is this dashboard. I'll go back to that request. And what I'll say is maybe the next thing I need an agency or a department to take a look at that request and make a determination whether or not that's the right thing for the executive to attend. So I can specify agency. Notice when I specify agency, the agency becomes a required field. Same thing, I may say, you know what, I'm just going to have a surrogate go to this one. And so we can assign it to a surrogate, and then the surrogate agency becomes a required field. Likewise, I can say I need to expedite this, or I can just decline it. So let's go ahead and send it to an agency. And then we just tell them, do we want them to review it? Is this just an FYI, letting them know this is happening, or review for a surrogate? So I'm going to say just go ahead and review it. I'm going to save my changes. And I'm going to say this is ready to go to the next stage. So the next stage is agency review. And here we're waiting for the agency to make a recommendation. There are several options as far as whether or not the agency and agency staff are users of the solution. If they are, then I would create a task for the prime person at that agency, primary person, to make a determination or make a recommendation. Otherwise, I can send them an email, and we can set up escalation processes so that if we haven't heard back within a certain period of time, then we have a staff member contact the person. Now, if I look at that review department, notice that we can set it up. We've set it up so that it's associated with an organization record. In addition to that, there's a primary point of contact, and we have the director information as well. If I look at the primary point of contact, we can see I've got their email information, I've got their phone number, and I can send an email, follow-up email to that person. I can call that person, and so forth. So we can define for each organization who is the primary point of contact for scheduling. So I can use the browser navigation to go back. Then I finally do get a recommendation. Let's say they recommend accepting this particular event. All right, then I can mark it as recommended accepted. The next stage is basically what we call the meeting stage. And that's where the group of staff members who are involved in making the scheduling decisions will basically meet on a recurring basis, maybe once a week, maybe once a month, to review any active requests. What they would do is they can go to the dashboard and look at the section of the dashboard that are requests for the review meeting. And we can see that that ceremony to recognize veteran-owned businesses is now in that list and no longer in the initial review list. So they can go through during the meeting each of these items on the list, and they can make a determination. Is this, this was recommended by the agency, and so we make our decision. Do we want to accept it? Do we want to decline it? Or do we want to send a surrogate? Well, let's say we want to accept this one. So we'll set that to accept. When we set that to accept, we'll go into now the notify stage. And this is where the requester will be notified. They'll send an email or create a phone call for someone to call that person. And then we'll create some tasks to go ahead and get any other additional details that we might want to put in here. Figure out who, if security is required, who's the security contact, what should the executive wear, any details on that, any information about the thank you that should be sent, and so forth. And then once we've done all those things, we can say, okay, we've completed all the details. And this will now go onto the calendar as an accepted item. And so we can go back if we want to the request for this one and then make some other kind of recommendation for that. Maybe we decline it, maybe we send a surrogate. One other interesting note, for any request or any event where the governor or the executive is requested, we can also record whether there were any gifts given to the executive during that event. And that way we can send thank you notes. If there are reporting requirements, we We can use that for reporting as well, the value of the gift and so forth. So this is an additional feature that's available as well. This concludes our demonstration of the executive scheduling solution.